A very good evening to all. It's time for Children's Bedtime Treasury with Let Emotions Speak. Don't forget to like the video, share the video, and subscribe to my channel for more interesting bedtime stories. Today's story is about the buried treasure. Jim lived in a big old house with a big rambling garden. The house was rather spooky, and Jim much preferred the garden. He would spend hours kicking a football around the overgrown lawn, climbing the old apple trees in the orchard, or just staring into the pond in case he might spot a fish. It was a wonderful garden to play in, but Jim was not really happy because he was lonely. How he wished he had someone to play with. It would be such fun to play football with a friend or have someone to go fishing with. He had plenty of friends at school, but it was a long bus journey to his home, and besides, his school friends found his house so spooky that they only came to visit once. One day, when Jim was hunting about in the garden with a stick, he hoped he might find something interesting, small creatures to examine. Every time he found a new creature, he would draw it and try to find out its name. So far, he had discovered 8 types of snail and 6 different ladybirds. As he was poking about under some leaves, he saw a piece of metal sticking out of the ground. He reached down and pulled it free. In the hand lay a rusty old key. It was quite big, and as Jimmy brushed away the soil, he saw that it was carved with beautiful patterns. Jim carried the key indoors, where he cleaned and polished it. Then he set about trying to find the lock that it fitted. First, he tried the old garden gate that has been locked as long as Jim could remember, but the key was far too small. Next, he tried the grandfather's clock in the hall, but the key did not fit the clock's lock. Then he remembered an old wind-up teddy bear that played the drum. Jim hadn't played with the toy for a long time, and he eagerly tried out the key, but this time it was too big. Then Jim had another idea. Perhaps the key fits something in the loft, he thought. He was usually too scared to go into the loft on his own because it really was scary. But now he was so determined to find the key's home that he ran up the stairs boldly and opened the door. The loft was dimly lit, dusty, and full of cobwebs. The water pipes hissed and creaked, and Jim shivered. He began to look under a few dust sheets and opened some old boxes, but didn't find anything that looked like it needed a key to unlock it. Then he caught sight of a large book sticking out from one of the shelves. It was one of those sort of books fitted with a lock. Jim lifted down the book, which was extremely heavy, and put it on the floor. His fingers trembled as he put the key in the lock. It fitted perfectly. He turned the key and the lock sprang open, releasing a cloud of dust. Jim wiped the dust from his eyes, slowly opened the book and turned the pages. What a disappointment! The pages were crammed with tiny writing and there were no pictures at all. Jim was about to shut the book again when he heard a voice. The voice was coming from the book. "You have unlocked my secrets," it said. "Step into my pages if you are looking for adventure." Jim was so curious that he found himself stepping onto the book. As soon as he put his foot on the pages, he found himself falling through the book. The next thing he knew, he was on the deck of a ship. He looked up and saw a tattered black flag flying from a flagpole, and on the flag were a skull and a crossbones. He was on a pirate ship. He looked down and saw that he was dressed like a pirate. The pirate ship was sailing along nicely when suddenly Jim saw some dangerous looking rocks in the water, and they were heading straight for them. Before he could shout, the ship had run aground and all the pirates were jumping overboard and swimming to the shore. Jim swam too. The water felt deliciously warm, and when he reached the shore, he found warm sand between his toes. He couldn't believe it. Here he was on a desert island. The pirates went in all directions, searching for something to make a shelter. Jim looked too, and under a rock he found a book. The book looked familiar to Jim. He was sure he had seen it somewhere before. He was still puzzling over it when one of the pirates came running towards him waving a knife. "You thief! You stole my rubies!" cursed the pirate in a menacing voice. What was Jim to do? Then he heard a voice call out from the book, "Quick, step into my pages." Without thinking twice, Jim stepped into the book and suddenly he was back in the loft again. Jim peered closely at the pages from which he had just stepped. "The pirates and the stolen treasure," it said at the top of the page. Jim read the page and found he was reading exactly the adventure he had been in. He turned excitedly to the contents of the page at the front of the book and read the chapter titles. "Journey to Mars," he read, and "The Castle Under the Sea." Further down it said, "The Magic Car and Into the Jungle." Jim was thrilled. He realized that he could open the book at any page and become part of the adventure, and he only had to find the book and step into it to get back to the loft again. After that, Jim had many adventures. He made lots of friends in the stories and he had lots of narrow escapes. But he always found the book again just in time. Jim was never lonely again. So kids, what do we learn from this story? That when you have a book to read with you, you are never lonely. You will never get bored. You don't need a magical book. All you need is your imagination. Ignite it and enter into the world of adventure. I hope you enjoyed this story. Do tell me in the comments below. Before we go to bed, let's add something interesting to the memory box. IQ time with Let Emotion Speak. Do you know which country is said to be the cleanest country in the world? It's Switzerland. It's a country in Europe. It has the highest mountain peaks in Europe. It also has 7,000 lakes. The currency of Switzerland is Swiss francs. With this, it's time to say goodbye and good night. Don't forget to like the video, share the video and subscribe to my channel. Good night.